Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in with me today. Listen, it's a pretty special day. Today is actually my birthday when this is being recorded, and there's no place that I'd rather be in the world than here in the studio making this for you. And today, when I woke up, I really don't make a big deal about my birthday at this point, to be honest. I'm more dedicated to, bringing joy and inspiration to other people. I just kind of don't see myself as a big deal sometimes. But that all changed today, thanks to my oldest son. When I woke up this morning, I kind of didn't even realize it was my birthday until my wife said happy birthday. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I was very surprised. My oldest son, Jordan, who is a senior in high school, he waited around for me this morning. I was doing my morning ritual, and I came out and he was waiting by the door, and he had written me a letter, and he read it for me today. And it really took me back to understanding that I matter, and that's something I really want to communicate to you as well, is that you matter. And he went through, and it kind of made me thinking about my own personal transformation when he articulated the story, because he was there when I was dealing with this so-called incurable spinal condition. And I shared with him a couple years ago that he was a big catalyst in me changing, in my transformation. And a lot of times it's the people in our lives that can help to kind of contribute and be that spark for us. And he knew that I wanted to be able to play catch with him, to teach him how to play and to play sports and run around with him. It was kind of like a big bright light that was shining for me to really take action, to take control of my health. And so it was a really special moment. We basically spent the morning crying together, but of course I was sweating from my eyes. I wasn't actually crying. I cried on the inside. I'm just kidding. So it was a really special moment, and I'm just grateful to be able to share this moment with you as well. And speaking of special, my guest today, oh my goodness, to have her here in the studio with me is also like the biggest gift. And I'm so, so very grateful. It's going to be something really powerful for you today. And speaking of powerful, oh my goodness, listen, I got it in my veins. All right, I got that hitter in my veins today. For years, literally since I was 5 years old, I had a sip of my grandmother's coffee. It was Folgers, all right? It was not the good stuff. I had a sip and I'm like, I will never drink coffee again. And I didn't. And this was until about a year and a half ago, as my wife just kept raving about Four Sigmatic coffee. I was using their elixirs, their lion's mane and their reishi and the chaga, in love with them, the cordyceps. But I didn't try the coffee. And when I did, it changed everything. So they have the coffee, organic, so we're not dealing with any pesticides, herbicides, a hot piping cup of fungicides to start your day. Instead, we've got organic coffee, but also they have it blended with medicinal mushrooms. So today I had the lion's mane formula, and this is because it's that mental edge. University of Malaya found out, and they did some really interesting studies, that lion's mane is one of the very few substances ever discovered that can actually cause something called neurogenesis. That literally means creation of brain cells, all right? Folgers can't do that. I promise you, it's probably going to kill a few 100,000 brain cells, all right? Totally different ball game when we're rolling with Four Sigmatic. So if you're not on the Four Sigmatic yet, what are you doing, all right? Take action, get it in your cup, start your day with their elixirs. Whether you're a coffee fan, hot chocolate, or just a general elixir, can add so much value to your life, all right? I'm feeling amazing. Head over, check them out. It's foursigmatic.com/model. That's FOURSIGMATIC.com/model. You get 15% off everything. All right. So head over, check them out. foursigmatic.com/model for 15% off. And now let's get to the iTunes review of the week.
Another 5-star review titled A True Father and Model for All by Solomon Brazen. Shawn Stevenson is a true model for everyone on their journey to be their best self. Nearly every time I listen to the Model Health Show, I get chills. This is good because I know I'm on the right direction when I get chills running through my body. Shawn is so genuine on his show that all of his words are heard so purely and they resonate wholesomely. It's a sure boost to put some action into your life, especially for a young adult like myself. He'll even respond to my direct messages, LOL.
Wow, thank you so very much for leaving me that review. It means everything to me. And thank you for making me a part of your story. And I promise you the best is yet to come. Everybody, if you've yet to leave a review, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. All right, it would mean so much to me. I appreciate it so very much. And on that note, let's get to our special guest and our topic of the day. Our guest today is Cynthia Pasquella-Garcia. She's the founder and CEO of the Institute of Transformational Nutrition, which is a highly respected and accredited school that makes it easy for people to become certified as health coaches by using a personalized coaching and business building system that works for everyone, everywhere, every time, with zero guesswork. This one-of-a-kind approach leaves coaches confident and credible so they can be the powerful force in the world that they are called to be. Cynthia's books have sold over 1 million copies worldwide, and over 1 million people have been impacted by transformational nutrition, a method of personalized nutrition that moves beyond food and physical symptoms to explore and uncover root causes of dis-ease and unhappiness so people can live fuller, more fulfilled lives. With her Southern charm and empowering approach, Cynthia is a contributor for several publications and media outlets and is the official nutritionist for Revenge with Khloe Kardashian. And she has also guest starred on The Doctors, The Dr. Phil Show, The Today Show, Access Hollywood, E! News Live, and other popular shows as well. Through years of drive, strength, study, and devotion to her calling, Cynthia is now one of the most influential personalities in the mind, body, and spiritual transformation world today. Cynthia knows that her life and her purpose is that she is called to continue uncovering her own past pains and deep truths so that she can live a life where she's seeking the truth of transformation and sharing it with others so they can be the powerful force in the world that they are called to be. And I'd like to welcome to the Model Health Show my friend, Cynthia Pasquella-Garcia. How you doing today?
I am so good. And I have to say, first of all, I am so excited. It's so hard to just sit in this seat right now. It
I feel
really
it.
is.
Yes.
We've been talking about this for a while. And then to do this on your birthday,
It's meant to be.
lucky me. Like, seriously, thank you so much for having me. It's just, it's so special, Shawn.
Oh, that's so awesome. And your birthday's 2 days. All right. We're super close. We're going to celebrate together tomorrow.
We are.
Yeah.
Going to do it right.
We'll do the sandwich technique.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
So there's so many things I want to talk with you about. And, I want to start a little bit different. I want to talk about Dr. Phil. So I was just going through and looking at some of your older stuff. Like, you've been in the game helping people for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're like this incredible secret that celebrities are calling out. But Dr. Phil, who's like, he was handpicked by Oprah. He's one of those guys, like Dr. Oz,
Right.
Dr. Phil. And he kind of handpicked you.
Yeah.
And your approach really spoke to him. What do you think it is about you and what you were doing that really spoke to him?
That's a really great question, and so great working with those guys, with him and his entire team. They are just really tremendous people to work with. I think the thing that really resonated was that what I practice is transformational nutrition. So it's not just about the food. Food is critically important, and you know this. But what I found out a long time ago after going through my own health struggle was that food alone will never fix us. And so you see people who struggle with weight loss or struggle with their health, but they know what to do and they know how to do it, but why aren't they? So I think the thing that really resonated with him, because this is his work too, is the why. Why do we know what to do and still won't do it? So I think it was that combination of the physical, the science, the food, the biological, with the mental, the psychological aspect, and the spiritual, which isn't religion per se, although it could be for you if that's your thing. But it's really about figuring out what you're really hungry for, right? Feeding your deeper hungers and your deeper desires and feeling validated, feeling like you're seen and heard and matter, kind of like you felt today when Jordan shared that letter with you. Shawn, most people never get that. I mean, you're so lucky in so many ways, obviously, but just to have that validation is everything. And the problem is we go outside of ourselves for that. And so what I really focus on is finding that value within yourself so that you don't have to go outside of yourself. You don't have to compromise, right? So when you put those three things together, the biological, the psychological, and the spiritual in a proven system, it works. And I think that's really what brought it all together for him and made the work really stand out to where he latched onto it and wanted to do something bigger with it.
Absolutely. And that's really what you just described. That's a spark for real transformation. And that's why I love the name.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, this was, first of all, the episode was way more inspirational than the Catch Me Outside episode. All right. But, you know, both are classic. And, you know, just hearing that story and seeing why this is so important and, you know, those foundational things, like, you know, I shared today with everybody that even for me personally, at different levels, you still need to feel like you matter. You know, I know that I'm an intricate part in the lives of so many people, but just as a dad, you know, like, because I'm so in it and I'm in the doing process, sometimes we don't take a moment to just acknowledge, you know, and to have that community, to have some of that reciprocity and communication is so important. And just to bring you back to you is so important.
That's right. And, you know, one of the things that I love about you and the work that you do, which, by the way, like, I have no words truly for the impact and the transformation that you're making. I mean, hats off. But one of the things that I learned from you and that I love that you do so well is you receive. You know, you'll say, I'm receiving that. And I learned that from you. And it's been really powerful in my own life because we often don't receive. You know, they'll be like, oh, Shawn, what a great shirt. People will say that to you. You're like, oh, this whole thing, you know, right? And we just brush it off. But that's a big deal. Or, oh my gosh, you did so great with that thing. It was nothing. But it was, right? Sometimes we diminish our own value even when people are so clearly trying to give it to us. It's so hard because we don't always feel like we're worthy of receiving it, right?
Absolutely. And just to take a moment, because even in that moment, I just took a moment to really be present and to hear what he was communicating.
Right.
Because it's very easy to brush stuff off, even those beautiful moments. And especially today more than ever, there's so much distraction, so much going on. And so having those moments when we can just stop, be present, embrace the beautiful things that take place. It really helps to kind of bring that level of good up a notch or two, you know? And of course, like, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about today. Life is going to be full of ups and downs, but I really feel it's trending in an upward motion, you know? And I was just talking about this with your husband, Zach, you know, because I asked him about this. Is there always going to be, because the concept of yin and yang, you know, there's this light and dark balance. But so when we have these kind of negative things take place in lieu of these great things, is it always going to be like that? And he believes what I believe, which is we're trending towards good. Life is really trying to grow and express itself through us. And with that said, in the ups and downs, I want to talk about your superhero origin story, all right? Because you are clearly a superhero. And but I'm really curious. So what got you interested in the first place in this health and wellness space?
So I had no interest in health and wellness, if I'm being just super honest. I didn't know a protein from a carb, and I didn't care until I got really sick, you know, and I think that's usually the turning point for a lot of us. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. I had horrible cystic acne breakouts on my face, my neck, my back. Was exhausted from morning to night. I was about 25 pounds overweight and just really in a bad place. I was suffering from depression that I had suffered from my entire life. I grew up with severe, you know, mental health issues and suffered from, you know, memory loss, short-term memory loss. So I was in just a really bad place. And I went to a lot of people for help, like we all do, right? And it wasn't working. And I really started off on this journey of healing myself. And it's been a very long journey. And I'm happy to go into detail of that whole story if you want. But it's really, you know, it felt really good to feel empowered, which I'd never felt before. I come from, you know, a less than ideal childhood and background. And so it was really about learning how to step into my own power and heal my own body and my own heart. So it started very much with a personal journey, very similar to yours.
Yeah, and I want to go into that because I think
Sure.
your story is so important and it's going to resonate with a lot of people, and a lot of these things are just again overlooked. So
Yeah,
the the catalyst. So you were, just going on about your life,
I was.
and something happened, and really kind of brought you to your knees.
That's right.
And so, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I was totally living my regularly scheduled life,
Hmm.
right on plan. And I mentioned I got really, really sick, but this work really started. I'll kind of go back to the beginning at sort of that place that I got that changed everything. So gosh, 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, that's so crazy. I found myself on the floor of my little apartment in Los Angeles, California, just the cold floor, and it was the wee hours of the morning. And I had a handful of pills, and I was broken. And I had decided that night that suicide was the only way out. And, I shared a little bit for months leading up to this. I was so sick. I was exhausted. I couldn't think straight. I had brain fog 24/7. Nothing that I ate really agreed with me. I was just suffering every single day. And I went to, doctors and trainers and nutritionists and healers. I mean, I did energy balancing and, Reiki, and I worked with crystals. I popped the pills and I drank the shakes, and nothing worked, Shawn. Just nothing was working. And so I got to this point where this morning that I had got up, and I thought, I think maybe today is the day. I think when we go through struggles, sometimes we get up and it's usually that Monday morning and we're like, today is the day, I'm going to turn it all around. And we feel really good about that, right? There's
Yeah.
just something in us that we're like, I can do this. Well, that's how I had felt that morning until I got in the shower and I found lumps in both of my breasts. And that was my breaking point. And I still get, all this time, I get so emotional.
It's okay.
Yeah, it was a really tough time. That was my rock bottom. And those old television sets, the one that sit in the floor and they're like huge. I remember my grandparents had
Yeah.
one. So you turn them off and the screen is black and it just kind of goes to this little pinhole of light, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened that day in the shower. And I remember I just sank to the ground and I put my arms around myself and I just started just rocking back and forth, just like you would rock a child that needed consoling. And I don't know how long I sat there, but the next thing I realized, I was shivering because the water had gotten cold. And I got out of the shower and I, zombie-like walked into the living room and I just sat down and stayed there. And then somehow found myself in this dark corner, again, with a handful of pills and my next step, which was checking out. And I was completely resigned to my fate, and I thought, you know what? They can't say I haven't tried.
Right.
And, speaking of trying, it wasn't like I had this health crisis and was like, oh, this is enough. I give up. I can't do this, right? My entire life had been a struggle. I was a survivor from the time I entered this world. And I sat there that night, again, completely okay with what I needed to do, but also angry. And I kept saying, why me? Like, just thinking back over my life, going through the things that had happened in my life and reviewing it all before I was about to depart. I kept saying, why me? Like, why is it that these things have happened to me? And I got so angry, Shawn, and I'm, the tears are just streaming down my face and my heart is completely broken open. I am helpless and I feel worthless and I feel hopeless. And in that moment, I heard this voice that said, it's not happened to you. It happened for you. And I still, again, get emotional. I get chills because it changed everything. And I heard it so clearly, Shawn. And then I heard, you are meant for greatness. Look, for me, growing up hearing you're worthless, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never do anything, you're just garbage. My entire life I'd heard that. I thought, I'm meant for greatness. And what I understood in that moment was that greatness is my birthright and it's yours too. And it's everyone who's listening, it's their birthright. You were born worthy of the absolute best of everything that life has to offer, right? So I realized in that moment, oh, this is why I'm here, right? This has happened for me, not to me. And, I went through this period in my 20s where I thought, what's my purpose? What's my mission? Why am I here, right?
Yeah.
And it was so crystal clear that night because I'd completely surrendered. And so I don't know if this is normal, but I made a deal with God that night. And I said, okay, if you'll open the doors, I'll walk through them, right? And just to tell you a little bit about my childhood and kind of, how that was, we grew up in extreme poverty. There was no running water in my house. There was no indoor plumbing. There was an outhouse that you had to walk out through the backyard and down to. I remember going hungry many nights because we didn't have money for food. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a new book, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I remembered a time when I was hungry, and I went to the cupboard and opened it, and inside there was an onion skin and a rotting potato. And that was all, and I just remembered that so clearly. My home was filled with drug and alcohol abuse, domestic abuse. My father tried to murder my mother numerous times. I was sexually abused for the first time at the age of 6. And so on and so forth. Like I could keep going. It was just tragedy after tragedy. So my entire life, I had been fighting. And that night, I was just like, I'm so sick of fighting. I'm so sick of fighting. But when I realized that it happened for me and I realized this was my path and I made that deal with God, I thought, all right, God, let's do this, right?
Yeah.
And I went to Google, very grateful in that moment for Google. And I didn't know what I didn't know. But what I did know was that I needed to understand nutrition and food and how to heal. And so I enrolled in a certification program. I put it on 3 credit cards because I was broke. But I was investing in me, Shawn, and that's all I had left to invest in. So I did that. I learned a lot. I went on to enroll in a lot of other programs, totally went back to school and pieced together what I was learning, started using it with clients, started my own journey back to health, back to healing, and was able to overcome all of those things that I had suffered from through this work of transformational nutrition, which is what I called it at the time, because that's what it was. I was really feeding myself for the first time, body, mind, and soul, and that's why I founded ITN, the Institute of Transformational Nutrition, because I thought I'm one person, and it's a certification program that quite literally saved my life.
Yeah.
But when I looked around, there wasn't anything that made it simple for people or that had a system, and I had that. And I thought I could offer this to others. And so it's kind of a long story, but that's why we're sitting here today and how ITN came to be.
It's so powerful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you listened, because I really feel like that voice, that information is always present. It's just a matter of us listening. And not only that, but taking action. You did something, checked out Dr. Google, and it's kind of sent you on that path. But it's also a process of really taking ownership, because even in that time when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with me, you're passing your wellness off onto these other people. And what you teach with your coaches is to help to empower people so that they become their own doctor. And
That's
also,
right.
of course, we have wonderful doctors and can have people in our network who are coaches and resources. But ultimately, it's really about you becoming the best you possible. And so I want to talk about that because switching from, really transforming your own health and well-being, what was the inspiration for you to want to help other people? Like, where did that come from?
Well, I mean, that was my deal, right? Like, that's the deal I made with God. I knew that's why I was here. I knew that I hadn't gone through all of those things in my life just so they could be self-serving. I knew better. I felt it. You know what I mean? And so I knew that part of my healing, it was almost For me, I really felt like it was contingent. I feel like living my life, I feel like it's why I'm here. There are no extra humans. If you're here, you have a purpose. And I knew it wasn't just to heal and then just go on about my business.
Yeah.
I knew that it was to give back. I heard it so clearly that night. And this is what feeds me. It feeds my deepest hungers when I see students coming through ITN and then going on to build their own businesses, to heal their own health and their own hearts and their families. And it's just, I couldn't ask for any better reward. It's just so powerful, And you mentioned like, oh, I'm glad you listened. I'm glad you heard that, and I'm glad you listened. We do hear that voice a lot. And what I realized, and again, I'm doing a lot of soul searching lately with this new book. And what I realized is, I told you I'd been a survivor my whole life. I love to control things. Crazy, I know. But the thing was, It wasn't like I like to control because I can be the boss. My home was so volatile that I realized if I could control the situation, it meant I was safe. Right?
Yeah.
And so I went through my entire life just trying to control everything, everyone, like the entire world. And that's hard.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But what I had never done before was just completely surrendered to what is and what's meant to be. I was always fighting it, right? And so I would sort of hear the voices, but I would just block them out. I got this. I don't need anyone. Like I've got this together. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom and did fully surrender, and I wasn't trying to control it, and I wasn't trying to fight back, and I just opened to receiving that message really came through. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah. And, when people see us, they would see two people that couldn't be more different, maybe on the surface, But our stories are so similar. We laugh about this all the time, from my childhood to even how we kind of took this transitional period of trying to figure this stuff out, going through different certifications.
Yeah.
I went to a traditional university, and I was kind of, it's like the miseducation of Shawn Stevenson. Shout out to Lauryn Hill. But, and coming out of the gates with just, I think truly, and I've said this many times, that if you take some of the smartest people in the world and you teach them the wrong thing, they're going to be world class at doing the wrong thing,
That's right.
for our conventional medical system right now. And so, looking for solutions and taking these different programs, I really didn't find anything that wasn't massively dogmatic and saying, this is the way and the only way.
Yeah.
And it was really frustrating for me. And so I kind of made it a mandate myself at some point to create a program, a certification program, to help to train people the right way in a way that everybody's right might be a little bit different.
That's right.
That's really the big key, paying attention to the patient and the client. And so in my practice, people would come in, and initially when I began, it was all about whatever I'm into, you're going to do, right? Because this is what's working,
Right.
And so if it was vegan, you're going to be vegan. If it's paleo, you're going to be paleo. If it's this, if it's South Beach, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And eventually, thank goodness, I had the audacity to say, wait a minute, I have to do what's right for this person right now at this time.
That's right.
And that might change. I need to equip them with the tools so that they can find that flexibility and be able to move and pivot in their own lives. And now, like, I just ran into one of my clients from, years ago, and he just like rode his bike from freaking Texas to, Missouri, and and he got it, and his wife did it as well. And just like, what? It's just amazing to see the impact, the trickle down effect of it.
Yeah.
He's telling me about, he's like, when I ran into him, he's like, I just thought about you today. I just saw my hemp seeds in my cabinet, and and that really sparked and it kind of marked in history that change for me, and seeing how it lasted folks a long time.
Yeah.
And also they didn't become dependent on me.
That's right.
And so with that said, it's a lot creating an institute like you have. And I kept putting it off. People ask me literally every day. People are messaging me, asking me about certification programs. What do I think? In school. And it was difficult for many years. Like, I just couldn't give them an answer in good consciousness because nothing really met my standards. And also, there's a huge missing component. Even if you're passionate about health and you want to help people, but you don't have the business acumen, right? That really would frustrate me because I know a lot of people went through certification programs for nutrition and health coaching, but they're struggling with their finances, and they're cutting corners. Maybe they're like, I'm a health coach, but I also drive a bus.
That's right. Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But if is that really what you want to do? Because in school, I don't know about you, but I wasn't taught how to be successful, right? I was taught, arithmetic and how to write, but not actually how to be successful. And blending those two things together, which is what you've done with ITN, is so powerful. And that's what really attracted me to you and what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means so much coming from you because I know you and I know how high your standards are. So it feels good to hear that. And you're right. I mean, everything that you said, we do get on, we think, oh, well, this worked for me, it'll work for everyone. And it's a very traditional approach. And it's between that and cookie cutter coaching scripts and cookie cutter meal plans, it's all perfect for a world that no longer exists because we know better now. We know that it has to be personalized based on the health issues you're experiencing, your stage and phase of life, your nutrient requirements if you've just had surgery or if you're pregnant or postmenopausal are going to be very different than if, you're a teenager or if you have a broken bone or whatever the case might be. And so personalization is huge and it is a must have. And it's tough, I see like you, I see schools teaching just the ancestral diet or just a paleo diet and or just vegan and that's not going to work, right? We have to meet people where they are and empower them to take care of their own health, to take their health back. Right. And take back control of that. Because here's the thing that I've learned in, again, over 15 years of doing this. I'm an expert on a lot of things. So are you. Right. But every single one of your clients, they're the expert on them. And if you don't work with them to co-create a protocol, right, something that they can follow, that they're invested in, they're not going to do it. It's why diets last on average 13 seconds.
Right.
That's an exaggeration, but it's true, right? Yeah. And it kind of goes back to that control thing that I mentioned earlier. I mean, we're grown adults here, right? Like we pay taxes, we got to show up on. That's what I'm saying. But it's true. And so when someone takes away your control, you don't like that, right?
You rebel,
because
actually.
You do rebel because for so many of us, control is safety. If I can control it and I know how it's going to go down, then I feel okay, right? It's that unknown that scares us. Even if that unknown could be something great, we still don't know. We'd rather just stay where we are and be miserable because at least we know that, right? So when you take away someone's power and you just give them, again, cookie cutter diets and what have you, they'll follow it for that 13 seconds and then they'll stop. But if you involve them in the process using a structured, proven process, right? You make them the expert on their own health, then they are invested. They are in. They will transform. They will stick to it. They will teach everyone they know about it. That's how you change the world, right? Letting each person be an expert on themselves, just one at a time.
It sounds actually so obvious, but the issue is that, a lot of times the most obvious thing, it's not flashy enough, and there's so many different programs out there and so-called experts who are overcomplicating things. And it's another thing that really made me passionate about doing what I'm doing is to take these complex ideas, and sometimes they are, but to simplify them, because, this quote from Einstein really resonated with me, which is, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't know it well enough. And I really kind of base my approach to things off of that. And that takes work, and so even as I'm learning, I'm thinking, how can I teach this? How can I simplify this? Because when it all really boils down to it, this stuff is in many ways ridiculously simple. For the most part, it's, eating good food, real food, moving our bodies some, getting some sleep, having some beneficial relationships. But the real issue is, why don't we do these things? What's stopping us?
Right.
And how can we help a person to choose that for themselves.
That's right.
Not forcing somebody, because as you said, we force somebody to get on this particular diet program. Our human inclination is to rebel. We really are driven towards freedom. Like, it's a natural human desire
Yeah.
for free will.
That's right.
And when you take that away, if you tell somebody, okay, so here's your diet program. I know you love fettuccine, but I'm sorry you can't ever have it. It's off the table, right? But, 5, 10 years, 20 years from now, you might be, with your friends vacationing in, Italy or whatever. Or no matter of fact, it's somebody's graduation at the pasta house. And it just hits you like, I know Shawn told me the fettuccine, but, this is my life. And you just go, face deep into some
Yeah.
shrimp fettuccine pasta,
I'll show him.
So this is the thing, when we tell ourselves we can't or don't do something, even when just a great example, when I'm telling everybody listening right now, don't think about Kobe Bryant dunking on a 5-year-old. You think about Kobe disrespectfully dunking on a small child. Like, it pops into your mind. What you say don't do, it's still there in the context. So with that said, just providing people a way that they can help to make the choices, you said that earlier, is so beautiful for them to be a part of the process. And so that's what I want everybody listening right now to be a part of your own process.
Right. And a process that works, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And that's something that, again, I spent a lot of time learning and figuring out. And just really quickly, before we go into that, like what you said really resonated with me. Like, you can't have this, don't eat that. Like, I can't have that? What do you mean I can't have that, right? So this became really clear to me. I hadn't been working with clients very long, and I made a lot of mistakes, when I was first learning, because my training is in clinical nutrition. So I made a lot of mistakes because I wasn't taking into account the psychological aspects, the spiritual aspects. But I learned, and that's, how the process was created. But I remember I was coaching this woman one time. Shawn, it was the same thing every single week. She would come in and talk to her, what's going right, what's going wrong, what worked, what didn't. We'd lay out her meal plan. She'd come back the next week, hadn't followed it at all. This went on for weeks. So one day, I was just in the right mood, because I'm passionate, right?
Yeah.
And I'm here to help you. Why won't you help me help you, right? And she came in, same thing. And here was her thing, Snickers bars. She'd eat them all day. She'd eat them for breakfast.
That's Snickers.
But she didn't lie about it. She wrote it down every week, kudos to her. She completely owned up to it. And I said, look, I don't get it. Every week you come in, every week we do the same old song and dance. Every week you go eat some candy bars. You got to stop eating the candy bars. And I think this is what a lot of us do. You have to stop, especially if it's people we care about. Mom, dad, brother, sister. You can't eat that anymore. You have to stop. And she did something that no client before or since has ever done. She stood up out of the chair and she started screaming at me. And here's her story. When she was a little girl, her mom was a single mom, and she started dating this guy who didn't like children. But the mom liked the guy, right? She was seeking that external validation. So when he would come over, she would go out to Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster back in the day? And she would get her daughter all of these movies, my client, and she would get all these candy bars. And she'd put the daughter in her room so that she could do her own thing and eat her candy bars and watch her movies, but not disturb, the mom and her boyfriend when he would come over. So that was her way of showing love, right? That was her way of validating her and telling her that she mattered. So what my client had said to me that day was, you're trying to take away the only friends I've ever had, and I won't let you do that. And I was speechless. What do you say to that? And that's when I realized, it's not about the food. It's just not. It's about those deeper hungers that we all have inside. And you can try to fill them with food, sex, drugs, gambling, shopping, like just name it. It's never going to work, right? So once I understood that, I was like, oh, I get it. But then back to that process, you got to have a process that works, right? So I did a lot of things wrong when I first started. And that's unfortunate However, I learned from them in a really big way. And that's what led to creating this. It's the first and only health coaching system that no matter where you're from, what your education, what your background, what you know and don't know about nutrition and health, it doesn't matter. If you have a big heart and you want to do something in the world that truly matters, like we can show you how. Because unlike, what people think health coaching is, which is, you go into a session and it's like, again, what I just said, what went right, what went wrong, let's set some goals. That's not health coaching. That's being a consultant, right? It's maybe being a cheerleader at most. But when you have a proven process that is every session is mapped out and you can personalize it for every single client so that you ensure that no matter whether they met their goals or not, whether they ate the candy bars, doesn't matter, every session they're leaving with transformation. Like they are experiencing profound shifts in every single session. The candy bars will go. They will, right? Because they're finding that deeper value in themselves. But that's how you create transformation, right? Yeah. It was Krishnamurti, he said, when you begin to understand what you are without trying to change it, then what you are undergoes a transformation. Yeah. You see? So you have to understand, why am I doing this? Why am I eating the Snickers bar? Why is Shawn giving me a meal plan, but I'm not following it, right? What am I really hungry for, right? Yeah. And so once you have that in a proven system, you just show up.
Yeah. And these are some of the things that set ITN in a totally different universe in what you've created. Yeah. And it's so, how we mesh, it's the approach that I found myself at. And to replicate that and build that out into an institute and to train all of these students, this is something that I kept pushing off as like 5-year goal every year. I'll get around to it because with somebody like myself, I really want to do things the right way, like from the ground up, and make sure that the result is imminent, as much as possible to help stack conditions in people's favor. And it's a tremendous amount of work. And you've done the work.
It's a lot of work.
And it just like made me so happy when I start to go through everything and connect with you. And, so let's talk about another thing, nationally accredited.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Why does that matter?
Well, it matters a lot, right? So there's a lot of programs out there, the online programs where they'll certify you to become a health coach, or they'll certify you in functional nutrition, or whatever the case might be. Functional health coaching, I think, is a new term that's being used. And the problem with that is these schools aren't actually approved or licensed to operate. So anytime you're running a school, you have to have that approval from the state that you practice in or that you teach in, right? So what that means is that if you go to a school that doesn't have that, first of all, it's not going to be credible, right? Second of all, if that school goes out of business or the person running it just says, it's not really for me anymore, then the credentials that you had and the money that you spent are just gone. And there's nothing you can do about that. There aren't standards in place to regulate what you're learning. So it could be right, it might not be. You just don't know because nothing has been vetted. So yes, we are licensed and approved as an actual school to operate through the state of Washington, which is super exciting and a very long road to get there, but completely worth it. And because of that, we're able to do things like partner with major universities like Carnegie Mellon University, which provides additional ongoing education at no cost to our students so they can continue going deeper. So that feels really good. Yeah. And then in addition to that, yes, we have accreditations all over the globe. So whether, if you're in Canada or Australia or Europe, it doesn't matter. We have you covered. We're accredited in all of those countries through various programs. And so one of the ones I'm most proud of is through, we're an approved school through the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, or the NANP. These guys do such such a tremendous amount of work on all of our behalfs, right? They're the ones out there fighting and lobbying for holistic health practitioners to do what they do in the world, and standing up against, RDs and legislature that say you can't call yourself a nutritionist and that kind of thing, which is really powerful. They do a lot. And so really excited to be an approved school because they went through all of our courses, vetted them. What it ultimately means is that once you graduate from ITN, you can go on to be board certified in holistic nutrition, which is a big deal, right? People are looking for that credibility. So those things, this is why our coaches are so successful. This is why they make more money. It's why they get more clients. It's why their clients see results and keep sending people back. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Definitely.
To do this.
I'm so excited as well because I realize I'm pretty sure you've gone through this as well, but I had the lone wolf syndrome. Like I'm trying to change the world by myself, like I got this.
I got this, yeah.
And I didn't know that I was really isolating myself. Yes, I was helping a lot of people, but it was not scalable.
Yeah.
And I knew eventually, it just kind of hit me, and even how we came together, that if I'm going to really make the impact that I'm capable of making, it's going to be with and through other amazing people. And there are so many amazing people listening right now, that are part of this community that are in the health space. Some are not, but they're passionate about it. And all of us together collectively are how we're going to really make an impact and change the world and change this paradigm. Yeah. And that's why we're really working together now to create this transformation generation. And I'm just so stoked about it. And this is actually the first time that I'm sharing this, but I fully endorse what you're doing and what we're doing now because I've come on board as a teacher and as an advisor for ITN, and I'm an active part of this transformation generation. So I'm just very, very happy and excited, and so excited for the people and the students that are coming on board as well.
Yeah. I'm so excited too. If I weren't sitting, I would be doing a happy dance. Like I feel the need to just kind of move right now. No, we are so honored to have you. And after you and I met and we just found we were in such alignment. First of all, we've lived the same life almost, which is
crazy. Some of these things, oh my goodness. We'll share them. We'll share them as we go along.
You can't make it up. But then just realizing like who you are and really you're so clear on your purpose and your mission. And you were so clear. You said, look, I have people emailing me, reaching out on social media. They need an education. They want to go to school. They want to do this work. And I don't have anywhere to send them. And so I thought, well, I could fix that. I can help you out with that. And, you went through the program. You were a student and went through the programs. And, you're a graduate, which is so cool. And congratulations.
Thank you.
But it feels really good. And I know our students will be super excited. And transformation generation, that's what we are creating. We don't have to do it alone. And I'm so excited to partner with you on this. I don't do this. I don't partner. This is not my thing, right? We've talked about this before, but
same here.
Yeah, right.
Because our standards are high. Because this
so
is
high.
This is about real people, with real situations, real goals and aspirations, and real potential, and it matters a lot to me. And I know, oh my goodness, just there's so many people that have just so much possibility in front of them. And if they can just get connected to the right thing, it can change everything, not just for themselves, for their family, for their communities. I've shared this a couple of times here and there, but a big part of the reason that I do what I do is it moved beyond just helping people to, potentially reverse a, chronic illness, or helping people to, finally become empowered in their own body, and to maybe, they're in a condition where, they need to lose weight for their health or whatever the case might be, or, it's just been something they've been struggling with their whole life. There's been different levels of things that I've worked with, and I've seen some amazing things happen. A lot of times because of my situation, I was told by my physician that when I was 20 years old, that I had the spine of an 80-year-old man. My spine was so degenerated, and not a healthy 80-year-old, by the way. There's like healthy 80-year-olds who are like doing muscle ups right now.
That.
I'm talking about what you would automatically think, And when I asked him, what can I do? like, how do we fix this? He looked me right in my eyes and said, there's nothing you can do. And to tell that to a young man, it's negligent, it's very dangerous. And I believed him. It's and I've shared this as well with everybody, but it's something called a nocebo effect.
Right.
It's the opposite of a positive injunction, like a placebo, which, by the way, placebos, when you get a sham operation or a fake pill, you think it's for blood pressure or for depression or for even chemotherapy. On average, placebos on average are 33% effective. Just the belief
That's right.
that this surgery is happening. They put up a picture, you can watch your surgery now, your knee surgery, and they're showing somebody else's video or a different video. And you see the patient improve and they heal. And all of this stuff is documented. Blood pressure will go down. There's studies where their hair actually falls out because they believe they're taking a chemotherapy drug. The power of our mind. And so having a nocebo effect where this negative thing is going to take place. And I believed him because he's an authority figure who indoctrinated me with this idea. And I proceeded to have this kind of nuisance of a pain. So over the course of a couple of weeks, chronic debilitating pain that I've struggled with for 2 years of my life. Every day, I was literally in fear of standing up. I would lay down and you can ask Ann about this couch, but this couch was like the worst thing ever. My little college apartment couch. It was made of like, I don't know, maybe of like Muppet skin, like Oscar the Grouch. Like he's been in that trash can and he's coming out and it's just like, Oscar, let me get some of that hair, right? This couch was so terrible. But I'd sit there and just play video games or just try to distract myself.
Yeah.
And I would be in fear of getting up and just going to the kitchen where I would go to consume food that was partially creating the problem, making me out of straight up.
Yeah.
Shout out to Oscar the Grouch, garbage, But because of this pain would happen, I would have to experience it if I was going to walk normally. And from that place and going through that experience and being in fear and not moving, becoming so docile, I gained all this weight and definitely I lost track of purpose, my identity. I saw myself like I was the cool person,
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I'm wearing a back brace. I'm sitting up here just so disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
And all of that changed when I actually decided that I'm going to get well.
Yeah.
I stopped putting the responsibility of my health, which I'm sure they had good intentions to my physicians, but if they're telling me you cannot get better and I'm believing them, what choice do I have? Like I might as well phone it in and just, give up. Yeah. And so I had a choice to make and I decided I'm going to get well. And most people never really do that. It's more like wishful thinking, like I hope this works or I wish that this would work or I'll give this a shot.
Yeah.
But I decided no matter what, I'm going to get better. And that eventually led me, and this is why I'm bringing this up, is there's levels to this, and meeting people where they are, which is what we're doing with ITN. My first step for me being uneducated was, okay, I need to get some of this fat off my body, so I'm going to do Slim Fast.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my
so
gosh, I did the same thing.
I'm doing the which flavor did
Chocolate.
you do? Of course.
Chocolate all the
So
way.
I'm doing the strawberry shake. It was nasty. It was like Pepto-Bismol with a little bit of like vanilla extract and maybe like a few drops of some strawberry juice or whatever. It was so nasty. I would try to do it cold or it was terrible, but that's the level I was at.
Yeah.
And eventually, of course, just within a couple of weeks, I realized this isn't working. I lost a couple pounds, but it was such a struggle.
Yeah.
Hungry all the time, suffering.
Yeah.
And that was the inception of my eventual belief, which is suffering does not equal health. And I really feel that, in life, there are going to be moments when you are struggling and you're suffering and you're going through things. But ultimately, what's going to sustain you is happiness and joy and things that become a part of who you are because they feel good, And so with that said, that experience of ultimately asking the right questions, which is another thing, when you're asking why and why me, sometimes you might not get the right answer. And for you, it's like, why me? Because this is happening for you.
That's right.
Right. And so for me, I began to ask, what is this trying to teach me? Right? What lesson am I supposed to be learning from this experience? And the human mind is really wired up to answer questions. That's what it does. It's always going to seek to answer the questions that you ask. But most times we're asking disempowering questions
Yeah.
and telling ourselves disempowering things. I can't do this because, you know, or when you ask, you know, why me? It's because, you know, you suck or whatever, you know. And so when I started to ask, I started to realize things would just come up. You know, when you talk about hearing this voice, it's because of the way that I'm living my life, not the food,
Right.
but how I'm showing up in relationships,
Right.
my character.
That's right.
Because my grandmother raised me much better than I was showing up in the world, you know. And my son, who was, you know, 2 years old at the time, he needs a real role model. You know, he needs somebody who is going to show him how to be a great man, even though you didn't have that role model. It's your responsibility. And all these things started to come up, and they fueled me. They fueled that transformation. And eventually it started with Slim Fast, but I started to ask better questions with nutrition. You know, what is my spine made of?
Yeah.
They're telling me that my bones are degenerating, which my bones were so brittle. I broke my hip from running when I was 16, you know. I asked, what is it? What are my bones actually made of? And of course, like we think calcium because of marketing.
That's right.
You know,
Milk.
but it was, and I was guzzling milk like I was getting paid for it.
Wow.
But it actually turned out to be, there was like 200 other things. Most of them arguably more important than calcium. You know, calcium is an end product, you know,
Right.
biological transmutation, but, you know, silica and phosphorus and vitamin K2 and sulfur-bearing amino acids and all this stuff I'd never heard of. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Let me take supplements. So I went through that phase, you know, and it became like a natural pill popper because of allopathic thinking.
Sure.
Pill for every ill.
That's right.
Ultimately, I realized like, this seems wrong. You know, I'm just kind of, I was already taking all these pills. I just swapped them out from the doctor's pills, you know? And so I just basic, obvious thing, but not so obvious at the time. What foods are these things in? That's when everything changed, because that food brought a level of intelligence along with it and into my body. I feel that for me personally, that was part of my bridge to get from where I was to the person I ultimately became was through food.
Yeah.
And that can be something that's available for everybody.
Yeah. No, I love that story. And I love, you know, especially when you talk about the mindset, right? Because you can either be the victim or you can be the victor, right?
Yeah.
And it's really up to you. But it's not always, it's that simple, but it's not that easy. Do you understand? Because we have grown up, most of us, I don't know anyone who hasn't experienced trauma, right? If you were born, you've experienced trauma. And so that affects you and you carry that with you. You know this, you carry it in your body, it's in your mind, it influences your behaviors and it's conditioning. You know, your neurological pathways are formed around these ways of thinking. And so you have to really hone in on that. And so obviously the food, critically important, but you have to understand the deeper triggers, right? You know, you talked earlier about, you know, going to the pasta celebration, you know, I'm going to have this, you know, what is it that's triggering that? Well, I wonder, like I like to play the I wonder game. I wonder when else you felt that way. You felt like somebody told you you couldn't do something and you just really fought back against that. I wonder, well, it was this time when I was, you know, 8 years old, you know, and my dad did this or my mom did this or my brother did this. And I thought I'll show them. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's always this trauma, like my client with the Snickers bars. There's always something that these things are triggering. So the key is to understand how to safely get to those dark places, how to let go of shame that you felt around this for so long. Like I used to be so ashamed to tell my story. I thought if they hear this, they're not going to like me. They're not like me, right? They're different. I'm different than they are. And I was very ashamed and I lived with that for a really, really long time and it just ate away at me. It held me back in so many areas, Shawn. You know, you talked about business. You got to be able to run a business if you're a coach or any kind of healthcare practitioner, which is so true. But I would self-sabotage because, I'm just that little girl from the Appalachian Mountains who didn't have running water, you know? So getting over the trauma, getting through the trauma. And we teach this at ITN. We teach the transformational trauma technique that helps you to go back and really uncover where that shame comes from and what the traumatic events were that led to that, so that what you can do is transform your deepest pain and your darkest shame into your greatest power. And then you can use that to leverage you forward in every area of your life. You talk about relationships, that's huge, right? I always say, if you want to understand how someone's health is, take a look at their relationships. It's a direct correlation every single time, right? This earth suit that we are in, like I got in here and you got in there, and I look at little animals sometimes and I'm like, how'd you get in there? How did that soul get in there? It's such a trip, right? But we all have had these journeys. And I think when you can get to the root of some of these things and release and let go, it can power you forward, because now you're not a victim. And now when you're at the dinner and the pasta's presented and you're like, I'm going to eat that pasta, you can step back and almost become an observer. And you can say, this is me doing that thing again, right? And here's why. And now you know. Now, whether you eat the pasta or you don't, that's not the point, right? The point is you're developing an awareness so that you can break those old habits. You can create new neurological pathways, right? Yeah. That's how you create change and transformation. It's understanding what you are without trying to change it, right? Like Krishnamurti said. Yeah. Because when you understand it, then what you are undergoes a complete transformation, and you'll eat the right foods just as a byproduct of the person that you're transforming into. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's so much connection and contrast with what you just said with me. I felt so much guilt and shame prior to, when this was kind of a catalyst for me to change. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, when I began to change my life, transform, there was nothing that I was afraid of sharing. Mm-hmm. I was the opposite. I was like, I'm about to tell everybody, like you don't have to go through this, guys. And I'm setting out and I'm communicating with all these people. And I did have a level of authority simply because I had gone from an incurable situation to walking in this power and having, seeing my before and after scans of my spine. Like, wait a minute, this story is not complete. And so, but here's the issue. I was able to help some people, not all, of those who I talked to. And those numbers were probably staggeringly low in the beginning because I didn't understand how to communicate my passion. I didn't understand how to communicate for this specific person in this situation. And this is one thing that a lot of people do when they want to help somebody with their health. They tell them their thing.
That's right.
Instead of listening and finding out those answers that the person already has. And so this is a big part of what we're doing with ITN as well. And learning these things from me. How do I go about teaching? Yeah. How do I think? Because I've never really detailed that before. And these are these are the types of things that students get access to. Yeah. And we can create that on-ramp to be a much smoother transition than what we had to go through in figuring all this stuff out. Yeah. And also, so the impact is there, the level of impact in people's lives as individuals, but also the scalability and being able to impact the lives. Literally, we've impacted the lives of millions of people with our sorry butts, and how we started off, but today it's such a beautiful thing because now we have something where folks have access. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we're doing with ITN and what people are going to have access to.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I'm so excited about this. And I love what you're bringing to the table. I mean, obviously, you were a student, now you're an instructor, and you're part of the company now, which is super exciting. I love that you're bringing your experience in as well, and that you're training our students now with your own life experience, because like you said, we have gone through some stuff, right? And so we have this great, again, proven coaching process. But one of the other things I want to mention, you said this early on, and I meant to come back to it, and now's probably a good time, but building a business and being successful on your own terms,
Yes.
right? Because I hear like, oh, be a 6-figure business, be a 7-figure health coaching business, and that's great, right? If you want to do that and that's your goal, by all means, we can show you how to do that
Yeah.
because we've both done it, right? But that may not be your thing. And so don't let someone else's like highlight reel, which I've heard you say on the show before, don't let that be yours unless you want that, right? So the first thing that we do at ITN is really help you get clear on what business you want, which means what life do you want? What do you want your life to look like, right? And what would that mean in terms of your income? What would that mean in terms of your time freedom to spend with your kids or travel or just have for your own self-healing, right? But teaching people how to build businesses because we've done it. And this is another thing I'm so excited to partner with you on. You know, how do you build a podcast like this one? Well, you're going to tell them, right? It's like, how do you write best-selling books and put on live events and host high-end retreats and do group coaching? We're teaching people that because we've done it. And we've done a lot of stuff that didn't work, you know? So one of my big goals when starting the school and now with you coming on board was to really save people the headache, the heartache, the heartbreak, the financial disasters that I went through when I was building my business, right? And I think it's one of the things that really makes us unique is because me, you, all of our instructors, like we're not just teaching this. It's not theory to us. This is real. It really works because we've done it. And again, just like the coaching, there's a business building system. You do this first, then you do this, then you do this, and it's all scalable around what your idea of success means. You know, because as much as we want to help people, you can't help anyone if you can't pay your rent, right?
Yes.
So, and what you said earlier, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm a health coach, but I drive a truck on the side, and nothing against driving a truck, by the way, do you? Like that, we need truck drivers. They're important.
Bring that package, man.
Bring the package. Bring my Amazon package. That's what I'm saying. Nothing against that. But here's the thing. If you are that brave soul, that brave soul that's so courageous to step up and to step out and to have this huge heart to where you want to help the world, to where you want to help people feel better, live a little longer, feel a little better, see a few more sunsets, you should be able to do that. I get so angry, truly, I do, at the people who step forward and are so brave and then they're not taught how to make money. They're not taught how to be successful. We need those people, right? Part of this idea of this transformation generation that we are creating is that you don't have to drive the truck anymore. You can do the work in the world that you're passionate about, and we'll make that simple for you, right?
And with that said, and creating your own structure and framework of what that looks like. So some people don't want to have a podcast.
That's right.
So what is your modality? Because it could be through just coaching and helping people. It could be through writing books, as you said, creating programs, courses. And like you said, we've done all of this stuff at the highest level. And you get to learn directly from us if that's what you're passionate about. So really mapping out and creating, but also we have to get through the psychological barriers of I can't do that.
That's right.
You know, Shawn is whatever. That's why. No, this is so hard to even say, you know, when I really just stop to think about it. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, you know, right in the heartland. And I grew up in some pretty difficult circumstances, you know, like we're literally this studio, which, you know, by the way, our studio is awesome.
It's amazing.
And the city is now kind of having a transformation in this part of town. 3 blocks from here, I used to live there next to a crack house. And I had a close family member of mine go into that crack house and, you know, and get high, you know, and it really started like a crumbling of a family structure, you know. And that's just a small thing, you know. The gangs, like my idol was, you know, somebody who's like in a gang. That's what I wanted, you know, because that's what I saw as success. Having all of those pieces and also being ridiculously unhealthy. I was fit. I was a fit little kid, you know, a young guy, even, you know, teenager.
Sure.
But ultimately, from that place that I'm from, creating the #1 health podcast in the country. It's been featured as the #1 health podcast. in the entire United States and you have a story that you can't, I'm telling you, there is a way. I didn't have the connections. I didn't even, so many people, we kind of throw this out like people have these advantages. Those are just excuses. Where there's a will, there's 10,000 ways, And a big part of that, though, and what really helped to transform my life was getting connected to people who already had been there before, who were laying out pieces for me. But I also have to stay true to my own story and my integrity along the way. Nobody told me that piece either. And it's easy to lose yourself because I don't want you to become a cookie cutter printout of Cynthia.
Right.
I want you to become the very best you possible.
That's right.
And that's what people are going to connect with.
Yeah.
That's what people are going to connect with because they're not going to buy your book. They're buying you.
Right.
And us helping you to do that. Getting that world-class training in nutrition, absolutely. But also, how do you structure things so that you can make the impact that you want in the way that you want?
That's right. And that's so important. And those are the people who embody health coaching. They embody transformation. Those are the people that end up with the best-selling books, with the great podcast, because they're leading from their heart. It's just within them. Like transformation isn't what I do. It's who I am. Yeah. You understand? And I hear you. And so many times it's like, it's so easy though, Shawn, to think, oh, but yeah, they did, but I can't. Yeah, but, and that's just you holding yourself back, right? And it's for a bigger reason. It's all about safety. It's about protecting yourself because what if I try and fail? What will they say? What if I try and I succeed? What will they say? Will I lose friends who think that I'm not like them anymore? Will my family pull away because they think that I'm better than they are, that I think I'm better than they are? Like that actually happened to me. I had people who said that. But like you, again, you've heard my story. I had no advantage. I knew no one. I didn't have anyone to connect me. I just had this drive and this desire. Like you don't have to know how to do this. You just have to want to, and you have to show up every day. So, again, coming from where I came from to be, handpicked by Dr. Phil, to work with, Khloe Kardashian and those people on the show. I mean, never in a million years, there's no reason in the world we should be sitting here, you or I, having this conversation, talking to all of these. There's no reason. That doesn't make any sense. It's the craziest thing when you stop and think about it. But it's because I followed my heart, and so did you. And I just showed up, and I learned from those people who've gone before me. And if I am successful at all today, it is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. And now that's what you and I are joining forces to help people do, to stand on our shoulders, right? Let us lift you up. Let us make this easy. Follow your heart. You can do this, and we'll show you how.
Yes. So let's talk about what we're actually going to be doing because it's something really special.
It's so special.
Because I don't want, that's another story we'll tell ourselves, when we have access to something like this and to be a part of this, like we're creating an army, of people who are bringing transformation and wellness to our society. And, finances to be one of the stories we tell ourselves. I can't because, fill in the blank. And again, where there's a will, there's 10,000 ways. But I wanted to also ensure that, we're giving people a little bit of a leg up, and helping with that part. Because ultimately, I really do believe this is that we should never use money as a reason that we don't do something that our hearts feel called to do. And there have been so many times throughout my life where it looked like I really can't or even shouldn't be able to do something like, whatever it is, go to this particular event. But if I feel called to do it, I find a way. Most of the time we find a way only when our backs are against the wall, not for something to elevate us, but like I said, so we wanted to do something really special and you agreed to it. So can you talk about what we're doing?
Yeah. So, and it's your birthday. So this is such perfect timing. We didn't plan this. No. So yes. And I understand the finances, again, I put my own education across 3 credit cards because I didn't have enough limit on one of them. I literally had to use 3. But as I said, I was investing in myself. And, when you and I connected, you said, I get these requests all the time. I have nowhere to send people. They're good people. They have big hearts. They want to help. We have to show them how, and we have to make it really special for them. So what we've done is because of you and because of your amazing audience, is we are giving your listeners a $2,000 scholarship in your name on your behalf. So it's a huge gift. It's your birthday, but I love that you're giving this huge gift to all of these amazing people. I keep hearing about how amazing your audience is and how great they are, and you really love them with all of your heart. So it's my honor to be able to partner with you to do this, and just in your name, it's really
I'm just
special.
smiling so big. I didn't think about the fact of, being my birthday, and it's such a great gift. That's what I really want for everybody to have access to.
Yeah.
And to be able to give this gift today is important. And by the way, so this will be, even if you're listening to this later,
That's right.
but we won't have this available forever, but this is something that we work together to create the scholarship fund for $2,000 for the new students coming in. And so I just want you to take action, on it. But even prior to that, if you still have questions, if you feel like, I want to see if this is even the right thing for me or the right thing for me right now, or if you already are a health coach, or you're in a program, maybe you're a physician and you're just not doing the work that you really want to do, and you want to find out the business side of things a little bit more, and how to structure, maybe you want to start a podcast, or you want to write a book or create a course and scale yourself and help more people because you have a gift. Whatever level you're at, there's a tremendous amount of value to find here. And to find out where you are, we actually have an assessment that people can take. So you can get access to that for free. So can you tell people how to get that?
Yeah, I mean, and we wanted to make sure it was right for everyone, right? And that it matched their needs. And you're right, we have everyone from, people who don't know, like me, the difference between a protein and a carb, to, PhDs. We have dentists, we have doctors, psychiatrists. It really runs the gamut for students in our school. And the great thing is we have this powerful community, the transformation generation, right? That really come together, and they support each other, and they educate each other, and they lift each other up. And it's honestly my favorite part of the school is just getting to see that, just humans coming together in love and service and helping each other, collaborating, not competing. It is so powerful. They all go on each other's podcasts and they promote each other's books. It's so amazing. But you're right. Like, one of the things that, we're known for is personalization and personalized nutrition. That's what our coaching system allows you to do. And so we really wanted to personalize your experience from the very get-go. And you said, like, I have different people in my audience at different levels, so we got to find exactly what works for them. So we've built this assessment where you go and you answer a few questions, and we see where you are on the journey. And then based on that, we give you exactly what you need to help you go to that next step. We'll find out if it's the right fit, if it's not the right fit, which program is the right fit, because if you're new and just starting out, we have our year 1 program. If you're already a coach and you have a certification, or you're a doctor or whatever, you can come into our year 2 course, which is our master certified health coach program. But either way, you go, you take the assessment, and if you qualify, if you don't, we'll tell you. But if you do, then you get this $2,000 scholarship, which is so amazing. And then we'll personalize your journey, and we'll tell you, in order to be successful, do this, then do this, then do this, and you're well on your way.
Can you tell them where they can get our free guide?
Yeah. So if you go to transformationalnutrition.com/model, of course. So transformationalnutrition.com/model. That's where you answer a few questions, and then we'll personalize your journey from there. We brought on a lot of people to help. We've handpicked coaches to work you through to work with you through the process, so that you're defining success on your terms. We understand exactly what you need, and then we can give that to you.
You know what? We have this is like the freaking Avengers. Because you mentioned earlier about instructors
Yeah.
for ITN.
Oh my gosh.
Just
stop
drop
it.
a few of the instructors let people know who some of the instructors are.
Well, we have Shawn Stevenson. Have you ever heard of that guy? Because
Yeah,
he's kind of a
I
big
like him.
deal. He's all right. No. So yes, obviously you. We have Katie Wells from wellnessmama.com.
Love her.
We have Dave Asprey from Bulletproof. We have JJ Virgin, 4-time New York Times bestselling author. There's so many people. Dr. Terry Walls, Dr. Tom O'Brien. I mean, the list goes on and on. We really handpicked the best of the absolute best when it comes to business, science, and coaching. You know, when we really put together the whole package. So, and now we're excited to add you to that list. And we're doing something else really special for this kickoff, if you will, speaking of instructors. So you want to talk about it or should I?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm enthralled.
You've got the ball. Let's see you run with it. Okay. So one of the things too that was really important to you, and it's important to me, is that people can truly learn from the best, and that we do hold their hands and we make sure that they're successful when they come through our program. This isn't money you're just throwing away on an education and then you're driving the bus, right? So what we've done is we've called up 12 good friends of ours and who are really at the top of their game, just the best of the absolute best, the most successful people in the world at what they do. And so when you enroll at ITN, we are putting you into an incubator. And so for 12 months, Shawn and I are going to be there personally coaching you. In addition, every month we're going to bring on one of these world-renowned experts. They're going to teach you what they're great at. You can ask them your questions. You can get direct coaching from them. We've never done this before. And it's live, and we'll go through this for 12 months to make sure that when you finish, that you are the best of the best as well, because that's what we're interested in creating.
So awesome. And that 12-month incubator kicks off in just a few weeks after this is released. So if you register a little bit later, you might miss some of these bonus sessions, but you'll still get everything else that ITN has to offer, which is just phenomenal. But I think it's just a really great opportunity right now in getting started and being able to ask questions directly to some of the most successful people in this field. So transformationalnutrition.com/model.
That's right.
Head over there now. You get some really just incredible information, period.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything.
Right.
Just about this field, which there's so many misconceptions and things are just they're really missing the mark. And you know, it kind of frustrated me over the years and seeing that and things just being so dogmatic and separating us when we really need to be working together.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this and so grateful for you and how you carry yourself and the work that you've put in to make this possible for everybody, and also for agreeing to the $2,000 scholarships as well. You know, that was kind of like one of the big things for me, you know, coming on board. That was really like, okay, yeah, this is something special.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things I want to ask you about, but, you know, I know we're going to wrap up here with time. You know, I think that what I want to know, and I've asked this before, but I'm really, really curious to see what your answer is. But what is the model that you're here to set with how you live your life personally?
Yeah, I thought you might ask that question. You know, for me, it's so clear, and it goes back to that night in the dark on the cold floor. I know without a doubt, Shawn, that my life's purpose is to continue my own path of transformation, continue to heal my own self, and to share what I'm learning with others. It's to use my own life to educate and to inspire other people to discover those deepest hungers, to overcome their past pains, and to turn that darkest shame into your greatest power through transformational nutrition. It is, I believe in this with my whole heart. It's impacted over 1 million people across the globe. We've certified over 10,000 coaches in this. This is, again, not what I do, it's who I am. So if I can be truly, and I know people say this, but it's so true for me, I feel it so deeply, if I can just be that model for one person to transform, it's all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cynthia, you're the best, and I'm so grateful for you being and also being here with me. And I'm so grateful that things aligned for us to just kind of intersect at that moment that we did when I was just starting to come out of my lone wolf syndrome and seeing other people who are doing amazing things and collaborating to help us really spark this transformation generation. And can you let everybody know where they can connect with you personally online?
Sure, yeah. So my personal website is cynthiagarcia.com. So you can head over there. I am Cynthia Garcia on social media, so we can connect there. And of course, on transformationalnutrition.com. I'm in all of our communities every day, just connecting with people and hearing their stories, and just warms my heart. So, yeah, that's where I am.
Awesome. Again, I appreciate you so much. I know your heart, and I'm just really grateful for you. So thank you.
Well, the feeling is mutual, and thanks for going on this crazy journey with me. We are just getting started, but I know it's just going to be tremendous. I'm so excited, and thank you for seeing me, Shawn. I think from the moment we met, you saw me, and that really made a big difference in how I saw you. And thank you for the work that you do in the world. Thanks for having me on your show. Thanks for allowing me to extend this opportunity and gifts to all of your listeners. It's such a privilege and such an honor. And on your birthday, of all days, what I really want to say to you, Shawn, is just thank you for being you.
I received that. Thank you. Cynthia Garcia, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Listen, one of the most powerful things that took place when I came on board, the very first training that I did for ITN, I was blown away at the engagement of the students and how helpful they were for each other and so passionate about learning. And everybody's at different levels, and that's okay because there are levels to this. The greatest way that we can transition these levels is by learning from people who've already done it. And then also having the audacity to reach back and extend a hand to lift somebody else up with you, and that's what it's really all about. And Cynthia's story is just incredible. She's done the work and has created something really special. And everybody has this opportunity in front of them. I know that you are here for something special. And I think there's an innate feeling that we all feel, but we can kind of conceal it a little bit, water it down, and tell ourselves a story that, I'm not capable because, fill in the blank, where I'm from, the situation that I'm in. I have, fill in the blank kids. I have no kids, education. These are all stories. And you have the pen in your hand to write out how the rest of this story is going to go. And that's what this is all about, today, is to understand how powerful you are to affect change in your life. All right. So with that said, transformationalnutrition.com/model. Take action. Head over there. Check out this free guide and assessment and just get involved. Find a way to make a difference, even just for yourself, in transforming your own health and well-being. You get to learn from the very best people in the world, direct access to ask your questions. And there's really nothing like this that's available out there. And listen, we've got some incredible, incredible things in store for you. So I just make sure that you got your socks wrapped around your ankles. Just the other day, my son, Jordan, who he actually, and I've shared this on the show before, but he broke his leg the final game of the year last year in football. Final game, his best game. He had like 4 solo tackles, a sack, and it was just one of those freak random things where his toe got caught in the turf and he broke his leg. And he's back at it, like stronger, faster, better, everything. But he went through a process. It was more of a mental process. When he first got his cast off and he got back to doing normal things, he was really upset and frustrated that his body just wouldn't turn over and respond the way that he knew it could. It's supposed to. And he sat with it, we talked, and he just changed his mindset and knew that this was a process. And so he's back stronger than ever, but he's getting his ankle wrapped. Just as it's a little psychological thing. The other day he came home and the trainer, they're supposed to put like a little piece of like this cushion tape in between the actual tape being on your skin. And we got hair in our DNA, all right? Kind of hairy, got the hairy legs a little. And he's trying to take it off. And oh my God, it was one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed. You know, he was like wiggling it, just shaking a little bit to try to pull it off. And he asked me to do it. And I was like, no, you got to man up. You got to do it yourself, right? But that went on watching him wiggle with this tape for like 10 minutes. And we're cracking up. I put on Instagram, by the way, follow me, all right, at Shawn Model on Instagram. And ultimately, I said, okay. And I ripped it off, all right? To hear the sound that came out of his mouth was no less than poetic and terrorizing at the same time, you know. But again, this is all a part of the process, you know, and we go through different levels. We might self-inflict pain on ourselves or even unintentionally do this to other people, you know, but ultimately by getting educated, by having the experiences, we learn from them. So now in this context, he'll tell the trainer, make sure you put that little tapey thingy so that you don't put on my skin, you know, and you have to learn. And coming together as this community, we're all learning from each other. And I'm just very excited about it. And let's go. All right, take action. Transformationalnutrition.com/model. More great stuffs to come. We've got some incredible, incredible show topics and guests coming up. It's going to blow your mind. All right, have those socks taped on, but not too tight. All right, because we're going to blow your socks off. All right, so be ready. Take care. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon.